Chimachukma, this is Chief Steve coming at y'all with another episode of True Story. Just wanted to give a shout out to my subscribers. I appreciate you guys, Yakoki, for riding with me so far. We are now 70 strong. So that's it, 70 strong. I really appreciate you guys. We went from 60 plus to 70 plus in literally a week. So the numbers are growing. And I really appreciate you guys, doing your thing and subscribing and, chiming in. I really appreciate that. And this information is going to keep going. It's not going to stop. So in this particular video, we're going to be going into part 2 of the housing and family structure of the American Aborigines. And if you haven't seen part 1, by all means, go to the channel, the main channel, and check that out. It's a good one. And like I said, I'm going to be experimenting more with the AI, the image generators. And I got some pretty interesting images for you guys this time. So, and once again, or rather, just want to say my apologies for not uploading within my usual time frame. As you guys know, we had these holidays and stuff come through. And although I don't personally celebrate Thanksgiving, I took that day to basically go on a fast. So I had basically a 24-hour fasting, period. Just let the body rest and rejuvenate and, just meditated and thought on the ancestors. You know what I mean? I just took that time to really have a solemn moment. So, with all that being done, like I said, it's time to get back into it. So once again, this book that we're into is Houses and House Life of the American Aborigines by Mr. Lewis Henry Morgan, born 1818 through 1881. Publication date of this is 1881. And this goes over the Indians of North America, social life and customs, and the dwellings. All right. And once again, up there on top, you can see my sources, address in the toolbar. You can go exactly to that you see up there and see word for word, verbatim, what I'm giving you guys. So the sources are there. This is valid, true story information. All right. This is the history that they hid from us. But now it's available, free information to all. So by all means, do your thing, do your due diligence. Go seek this information out for yourself. See it for yourself. All right. While it's out there, while it's still available. And once again, thank you guys for subscribing. And if you are new to the channel and you're viewing my stuff for the first time, or if you're a continuous viewer, but haven't done the, liberty of subscribing, by all means, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. So when I do drop these bombs, you'll be the first one to catch them. And I promise you, we're going to keep going. This isn't stopping. So, you're not going to regret hitting that subscribe button. I'm not just going to be another channel that you're just sitting on your background and not being active, not doing anything. We are active. This is an active community. And I really appreciate you guys interacting and, showing me the support. All right. So without further ado, we're going to continue where we left off. Right here on this second paragraph. So the last time we had got into the housing structure and the family structure of the Iroquois. And now we're going to be going into some more of our Aborigine tribes that these Europeans have, basically toured and have taken some diligent notes on. So, like I said before, things got crazy with them. We were hospitable. We did let them in. They did see our ways, and they did take good notes on them. And now that information is right here, right in front of us. And, they did what they had to do in order to learn what they needed to know about us. So things are the way they are for a reason today, from the family structure, the way we operate, all the way to like the houses that we live in today, the apartments, the different, sizes of the houses and everything. You're gonna see that as we continue on in this journey. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. It says right here, in the History of Virginia by Captain John Smith, the houses of the Powhatan Indians are partially described and are found to be much the same as those of the Iroquois. We have already quoted from this work the description of a house of Roanoke Island, containing 5 chambers, speaking of the houses in the vicinity of James River in 1606 to 1608. He remarks, their houses are built like our arbors, of small young sprigs bowed and tied, and so close covered with mats or the bark of trees, very handsomely, that notwithstanding either rain or wind, rain or weather, they are as warm as stoves, but very smoky. Yet at the top of the house there is a hole made for the smoke to go into right over the fire. Against the fire they lie on little hurdles of reeds covered with a mat borne from the ground a foot and more by a hurdle of wood. All right, so they had beds, they had beds, they had sofas, that was their, we had furniture. That's what they're saying. Places to sit, places to lay down at. It says on these round about the house they lie heads and points, one by the other against the fire, some covered with mats, some with skins, and some stark naked lie on the ground. So, we had different blankets, different clothing, and some of us just like to lie around naked. Some of y'all can attest to that. Sometimes it be in time, especially if it's hot, you right by a fire and stuff. You know how we do. Sometimes we just like to lay around our boxers and briefs, or our, panties and bras, whatever. You know how we do it. We lounge around. We get comfortable. So anyway, it says here from 6 to 20 in a house. So it was from like 6 to 20 people in one house. All right. But these are bigger houses. These weren't just little, project homes like you see today. When we built for the capacity of our people. And it says right here, in some places are from 2 to 50 of these houses together. All right. So that means that it was more than just one house standing alone. It was different houses. Our families were huge. Our tribes were huge. Our villages were huge. Okay. These were like cities, like little towns. It says, or but little separated by groves of trees. Okay. The noticeable fact in this statement is the number of persons in the house, which shows a household consisting of several families. Their communism in living may be inferred. Elsewhere, he speaks of houses built after their manner, some 30, some 40 yards long. See, so this is the long house system being utilized yet again within the Powhatan tribe. So this wasn't just something that was common to the Iroquois. It was a common thing amongst all of our different tribes that were around the Southeast and, the Northeast as well. So it wasn't an exclusive thing, so that's kind of like that like mind of how we did things is, once again, that autochthonous type of thinking, that oneness that we had as far as doing things. We did our own different things, but at the same time, the base commonality was there amongst our people. Okay. Says, so let's go back. Says elsewhere, he speaks of houses built after their manner, some 30, some 40 yards long. And speaking of one of the houses of Powhatan, he says, this house is 50 or 60 yards in length. And again, at Pamunkey, see, even the Pamunkey tribes had it. At Pamunkey, a great fire was made in a long house. A mat was spread on one side as on the other, and on one side they caused him to sit where it says, we here find among the Virginia Indians at the epoch of their discovery longhouses very similar to the longhouse of the Iroquois, with the same evidence of a large household. It may safely be taken as a rule that every Indian household in the Aboriginal period, do you understand? In the Aboriginal period. So there's a difference between the Aboriginals, the Aborigine, and the Native Americans today. This is the Aboriginal period that they're speaking of. It says it may safely be taken as a rule that every Indian household in the Aboriginal period, whether large or small, lived from common stores. Okay? And before we go forward, we're gonna pause for the cause, and I'm gonna show you what those different houses may have looked like. I did some more AI generated conceptions of what they may look like. So let's pause for the cause and go on to see what these houses may have looked like according to AI. Alrighty, y'all, we're back. So this is what they may have possibly look like according to AI generated conception. So as you see here, our American Indians, our Aborigines, sitting by a fire, with the house out there. And like I said, these aren't teepees. Okay? These weren't tents, they weren't huts. These are full-blown houses that we created. And these were long houses. They stayed in long houses, and they had multiple families within these houses. All right? And like I said, AI can only go so far. I mean, the certain program that I'm using can only go do so much, have so many characters. But as you said, as you've seen, that was stated in the book, these were ranging from like up to 60 feet long. You know what I mean? And some yards in some cases. However long it needed to be according to the size of the families. All right? But this is just a generalized conception. And as you can see, the chimney on top of the house where it says there's a hole in the house where the smoke came out. So we had a modern type of understanding or overstanding as to what we needed for our house. We weren't just sitting up and, setting up fires inside of a house and not having any kind of point of access where smoke could go out of, or, no kind of primitive way of living here. As they said, that when they went there, a lot of the stuff that they seen was like similar. These houses were similar to the ones that they had on their arbors, in their different ways, their different areas in Europe. And they were just shocked and amazed at the fact that we had these, but in abundance. It was multiple houses, and they came in different shapes and sizes, as far as like, some could be up to 20, 30 feet. Some could be up to 60, and some, like I said, yardage, like took up different spaces, but at the same time, it was multiple houses, multiple families, and we all did this in a cohesive manner. We all took care of each other. We all made sure that everybody's house was well taken care of. All right. So that's just another conception as well. So, like I said, this is the AI doesn't do it complete justice, but this is just some kind of generalized image that you can see. And then from there, you can just, fill in the gaps and see what what fits where. But yeah, this is it. So without further ado, we're gonna go back to the passage and continue on. Pause for the cause. We'll get back to the passage. All right, we're back. It says Mr. Caleb Swan, who visited the Creek Indians of Georgia in 1790, found the people living in small houses or cabins, but in clusters. Okay, so these were smaller houses and cabins that they lived in, but they had clusters of them. There was like there was a whole bunch of them all together. Each cluster being occupied by a part of a gens or clan. And once again, we know what gens is. If you we went over that definition via the Oxford Dictionary in our last video. And if you need to refer to that last video and see what that definition is verbatim. But, just a quick paraphrase, the gens could be either the family, all coming from all stemming from one generation. It could be an age group, related people of the same age group. And it can just be like a different, people of a different clan of a tribe. But these are all literally people that are generally related to one another. Okay? In some way, shape, or form, whether it be through marriage, whether it be through lineage. Okay? So that's what the gens are. It's not to be mistaken by Gentiles or any kind of religious definition. All right, moving forward. He remarks that the smallest of their towns have from 10 to 40 houses, and some of the largest from 50 to 200 that are tolerably compact. So all these houses were all full of family members. Okay, so you can only imagine what our numbers were. And the Creek, the so-called Creek, the Muskogee, they, that's a large tribe within itself, has many different clans in there. And shout out to my Creek Indians out there that's watching. Tribe up. He remarks that the smallest of their towns have from 10 to 40 houses, and some of the largest from 50 to 200 that are tolerably compact. These houses stand in clusters of 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 together. So usually these were all in different groups of 4 to 8 houses together, which is probably generally a family. And then the next family within the tribe had another 4 to 8. The next family had another 4 to 8, and it totaled all together up to almost 200 houses. All right. In a lot of places. And it says each cluster of houses contains a clan or family of relations who eat and live in common. So these clusters took care of each other. They made sure we all hunt. When somebody goes out and hunt, we all hunt. We all eat. Somebody gather the fruits and the different harvests. We all harvest and gather our crops together. And we make sure that our family members, from the least, from the greatest to the least, are all taken care of. You know what I'm saying? So it was an equal commonality there. And that's what they mean by communism. Not to get all political with it. That's what they mean by the community. The communism is literally the community way of living that we had. All right? It's not what you hear today as far as communism from a political standpoint. We were tribes that took care of each other and nobody went without. All right. So it says here, the fact of several families uniting on the principle of kin, living in a cluster of houses and practicing communism is expressly stated. Right? Okay. So here we go. It says James Adair, writing still earlier of the Southern Indians of the United States generally, remarks in a passage before quoted as follows: I have observed with much inward satisfaction the community of goods that prevailed among them. And though They do not keep one promiscuous common stock, yet it is to the very same effect, for everyone has his own family or tribe. And when anyone is speaking, either of the individual or habitations of his own tribe, he says, he is of my house, or it is my house. All right. So when we was amongst all of our, our tribal members, we all was representing our households, so that's where you get that bear clan from. That's where you get that wolf clan from. You know what I mean? We represented one another's household as individuals. So when you came, you didn't just come as one person just speaking on behalf of yourself. You were mostly speaking on behalf of your house. you know Everything that you did and everything that you said all reflected on your house. It reflected on your family. You know what I mean? So it was a certain level of honor that had to be upkept while dwelling amongst each other. And part of that honor is honoring that household, that matriarchal line that you come from, you know? So let's go forward. It says it is singular that this industrious investigator did not notice what is now known to be the fact that all these tribes were organized in gents and phratries. Now we understand what the definition of gents is. It's the same as gens. Gents, Gentile in some cases, all have the same definition. And like I said, if you need to reflect on that, just go to the OED, go to the Oxford Dictionary and type in that word gents. Or you can refer back to my last video that we did, part 1, and you can see the full definitions right there as you're watching that video. And there's a new word that's brought to our attention, which is phratries. And that's pretty much the same definition, but I'm going to go ahead and pause again and go to that dictionary, so the Oxford Dictionary, so you guys can see the definition of that word for word. So once again, we're going to pause for the cause and goes on to the Oxford. Alrighty, guys, we're back. And this is the OED.com. This is the source up top in the toolbar. You can research it for yourself. Dictionary definition phratries. Right here it says ancient Greek history. So you see, as the Europeans, they're using their Eurocentric words here. It's of Greek origin. Ancient Greek history. It says a kinship group composed of families with a notional common ancestor, having a corporate identity and certain corporate. All right. So that's pretty much it for that. But yeah, that's the definition. So when they're saying phratries, they're literally talking about a family, a kinship group, okay, with a common ancestor. And like I said, we mostly dealt with the matriarchal line. That's what we dealt with back then. That was the heads. That was the base bloodline of our clans, was the matriarchal lineage. Okay. So that was our identity was a part of our kinship. Our families were a part of our identity. That's why it says in my house, it's the house of this, the house of that. He's from that house. Talking about, now that's where you're talking about your phratries, and then even with the different houses, we all had that one common ancestor. It's kind of like family reunions, It's like we all came from this line, And say if the original line had Big Mama and them had 8 or 9 kids, you say, oh, well, I'm Bobo's boy. or I'm Pearl's daughter. You know what I mean? Or I'm Pearl's granddaughter. Or I'm John's great grandbaby. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. Y'all know it's that one base common ancestor, or that ancestor within that original lineage that you identified yourself with. And that's what made your freight tree. That's what made your kinship group. It was those different families. So, within that one matriarchal, Big Mama had 8 or 9 kids, and then going in, that one kid had another set of kids, and then another set of, but it still stems from that one common ancestor, you know. So y'all can put that together. That's basically what it is. We're gonna pause for the cause again and get forward to the passage and wrap this up. All right, y'all. Here we go. It says, it would have rendered his observations upon their usages and customs more definite. Elsewhere, he remarks further that formerly the Indian law obliged every town to work together in one body. So no matter what family you came from within that tribe, that town altogether, within that village, within that town, we all worked together as one. It says, in sowing or planting their crops, though their fields were divided by proper marks, by different families, and their harvest is gathered separately, we still work together as one body. It says the Cherokees, or who we know as the Aniumuia, and the Muskokees, which are the Creeks, still observe that old custom, which is very necessary for such idle people, they say. They cultivated, like the Iroquois, 3 kinds of maize, which we know is corn. It says an early variety, the humney corn, and the bread corn. Y'all know what bread cornbread. When it says bread corn, we know it as cornbread. All right? It's not an African thing. That's an indigenous thing. Everybody and their mama know what cornbread is. It says also beans, squashes, pumpkins, and tobacco. Chestnuts, a tuberous root, something like the potato, but gathered in the marshes. It says berries, fish, and game, which is meat, that deer meat, that bear meat, turkey, chicken. Well, we didn't have chicken back then, but, as we started trading chicken, cow, as we started trading with the Spaniards, it says it entered into their subsistence. So we had meat, we had berries, we had fruit, we had vegetables, all that. Well, really, there is no such thing as a vegetable, but everything came from a seed, some way. So we had our fruits, we had our herbs, we had our spices, we had our meat. It says, like the Iroquois, they made unleavened bread of maize flour. Unleavened bread of maize flour. And those who are my Hebrew Israelites, y'all know about the significance of the unleavened bread and how important and sacred it is within that way of life. But that was something that wasn't just exclusive or common to a religion. Like I said, this is going back before religion. We had these different base foods as our sustainers. We didn't really deal too much with leavened bread. It's more of a Eurocentric thing. Unleavened bread was made out of maize flour. And we know that, and it says, which was boiled in earthen vessels. So what? Boiled, unleavened bread of maize flour. And we know maize to be corn. So boiled corn bread What do we know that is? In the form of cakes, about 6 inches in diameter and an inch thick. What do we know that is bread of maize flour? Huh? That was boiled in earthen vessels in the form of cakes, about 6 inches in diameter and an inch thick. I'm about to show y'all what that is right now. So let's pause for the cause, and we're going to wrap up with this on this note right here. All right, we're back. Now, y'all know what this is. Y'all know what this is right here. This is what you would call hot water cornbread, for those who don't know. But I'm pretty sure a lot of us know about that hot water cornbread. A lot of us is probably eating this over so-called Thanksgiving. Had some of this on our plate. That's because it's an indigenous meal. This is something that came from us. This is from the American Aborigine. Okay? They didn't have hot water cornbread in the Aboriginal period back in Africa. They didn't have this. This was something that was exclusive to the Americas. The maize flour, the unleavened maize flour that was boiled in earthen vessels, made into the pattern of cakes, about an inch thick. That's just an elaborated way of saying these Nijis ate hot water cornbread. So that's all that is. Hot water cornbread. That's us. That's always been us. You know, that's just what we do. That's what we eat. All right. And we've been eating this for as long as, however, long before there was a Thanksgiving, long before we had all these different, holidays and things, and before there was a conception of soul food, soul food isn't a slave thing. So don't let these people, even if they look like us, don't let them degrade our way of eating, degrade our way of life by saying, oh, this was all slave food. It wasn't no freaking slave food. This is indigenous American food. This is Aborigine cooking. This was a sustainer for us. All right? Hot water cornbread, the maize flour, boiled in earthen vessels, patterned into cakes, forms of cakes. All right? About an inch thick. This is what those Europeans were talking about way before there was way before they were talking about slavery. This is what it is. This is what we've had. All right? That's how we got down. We've always gotten down like this. There's nothing new under the sun. And we still eat this today. So when you see this bread, don't think of Africa. Don't think of slavery. Don't think of, this is just, slop. This is slave food. This ain't no damn slave food. This is the food of our ancestors. This is true Aborigine cooking right here. Soul food is not slave food. What makes it slave food is the mentality that it's cooked in. If you think you making slave food and eating slave food, and then you start putting all kinds of crazy, portions of salt and, things in there, and then, yeah, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get that slave mentality. But when our ancestors was cooking this food, we were cooking it as a sustainer for all of our households within our tribes. This was something that we kept on deck for everybody. Nobody went hungry. Everybody had food to eat. Everybody had a place to stay, a roof over their head. Not a teepee, not a hut. Didn't sleep on the ground outside. Didn't sleep in trees. We weren't in caves. We were in houses, in towns. All right? So put some respect on our ancestors. Put some respect on our way of living. All righty? But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Once again, if y'all stayed to the end and you're new to the channel, it's your first time viewing, or you're a continuous viewer who hasn't made up their mind to subscribe, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video. Once again, it helps the algorithm to grow. And share. Share this information on your social medias. Share this information with your friends, with your family. Share this information, because this is the true story right here. This is the true story that history has failed to acknowledge. Okay? So it's up to us now, as the descendants of these great ancestors. It's up to us to carry on their legacy and let them be known. Let them be acknowledged as we move forward in our journey to knowing ourselves. All right? Once again, this is Chief Steve, giving y'all the true story. Again, 70 plus strong. Tatakista, I appreciate y'all. I cherish y'all so much. And Yokoki, thank you once again for letting me be a part of your journey. All right, I'll take it easy.